Good morning, boys and girls. Another beautiful day. This earth keeps spinning. The moon rises and sets. It's remarkable. I'd like to draw people's attention to another book. This one's by a Zen master, Foyan. I think somewhere around the 11th century. Translated into beautiful English by Thomas Clary. And the great thing about it, this is quite rare. This book is also available on Audible, so you can listen to it as well as read it. And I've got to say, they did a good job of the reading of the book, so that's very good. And then, of course, we have the Ten Abodes, is where we are on the recorded Avatamsaka. And so, our Flower Ornament Sutra. And so I want to recommend both of those to serious students out there. Okay, questions?
Yeah, so I think in our last session, you recommended me to contemplate on anger, fear, and helplessness.
Okay.
And I was contemplating on it, like something happened a few days ago as well. Not to me, to a cousin of mine. And I felt sadness, fear, and then helplessness. It essentially was that cousin of mine was searching for a job and he was finding trouble there, as well as having migraines, which like made his life miserable.
Migraines, yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. And essentially, I literally imagined myself to be on his place. And with whatever experiences I had, I felt really terrible. But the core of it was, I can't do anything about this.
So you felt empathy for him?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you need to do anything about it?
But I can feel his pain. How can you not do anything about it?
Well, in the case of the migraine, there's certainly, if it's true migraine, there's certainly things that can be done about it. Right?
Yeah.
There's modern medications that manage that fairly well. So that can be done about it.
Yeah, but at the same time, I felt like him not having a job because I have been in that situation as well. So I don't know.
As has almost everyone, and it looks like even more people will be without a job for a while until the new paradigm sets in or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's attached to an image of himself, right?
Yes.
He's attached to an image of himself where he has a job. He doesn't have migraines. But now he's facing reality, and the reality is that he doesn't have a job, and he's got migraines, and now he has to be patient, right? Yes. Like a parabita.
Yes.
And he has to try and understand what is he doing wrong that he can't get a job, and what can he do about his migraine. But the suffering is all extra.
Except the migraine pain, I guess. But yeah.
Except for the migraine pain, yeah. Even that might be extra because, there's several treatments for that now.
Yeah, but this is what I hate. Like, I know there is no proof that I have control over things at all. It's like asking whether did I really decide on something.
There is no proof. Okay, all right.
Yeah, like when you ask, what am I thinking right now? And did I choose to think whatever I'm thinking right now? I don't think I have proof for that, because I don't have any other options that were presented to me. And even if there were, I don't know.
No, you could change your thoughts just by changing where you are. See, okay, I think I posted about this. I think I posted that consciousness is the activating principle in living nature. Does that make sense?
What do you mean by activating principle? Do you mean, is it the basis?
I mean, it's the thing that activates whatever substrate it is to be alive.
Okay.
And then I think I said something along the lines that thoughts are elaborations from this consciousness. Correct?
Yes. Elaborations.
And sensory phenomena are not. So your thoughts, if you're going to be honest about what your thought is, it includes, where are you sitting right now? Where are you? In a room, in an office? What?
In a room.
Okay. Does it have a window?
Yes.
Okay. So your thoughts, some of your thoughts are a window, a wall, a desk, a computer screen, my voice, right?
Yes.
But that's probably not what you usually think of as thought, but it is, right? It's the same. The observer and the observed are the same thing, and the experiencer and the experience are the same thing. And what you're inserting there is an I, right?
Yes.
But you can't find that I. And of course, that I suffers. And the reason it suffers is because it's living delusionally. So if you were to walk into a park, for example, your experience would change completely, presumptively. And now you have a different mind. Unless you're really, really coned in and focusing on this imaginary or illusory I, in which case, nothing works, because you're not looking at reality. You're looking at an idea about reality.
Is this what Krishnamurti meant when he said, observer is observed? The awareness
Yes.
is observing, not observing, I would say. Awareness is aware of this I. But
it is aware, it is aware of something called an I. Yes. But when you look for that I, you won't find it, because it's really just an illusory thing. It exists only as an expedient, perhaps, for some people for a while to get on in the world, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to get rid of suffering, you have to get rid of the attachment to the I and realize that that's just a thought pattern. It's just like a beam. And in reality, if you're in a park, then you're the trees, the skies, the grass, the squirrels, you're everything that you're experiencing. You're identical with those. And the I is just extra. And then we imagine it's the I that suffers.
So I was thinking about this a bit. So I was.
So just let me clarify one more time.
Yeah.
If you identify with your animal body, then your animal body will be subject to all of the slings and arrows, all of the vicissitudes, all of the ups and downs and blows and arrows, I guess, of an animal, right?
Yes.
An animal can get hungry, an animal can get hurt, an animal can have pain, all of those things. But if you don't identify that way, then the things that you call suffering take on a different, they become less because it's just one feature in your mind field.
Okay.
I hope I'm not confusing people too much. I know this observer is the observed, the experiencer is the experiencing, right?
Yeah.
And that's all there is. And so once that's fully grokked, then everything kind of loosens up quite a bit.
I remember using the word I am aware of this separate self I, but now I realize I'm just separating things out. But
Well, see, you imagine the I. So you imagine, it's like René Descartes, right? The great French philosopher. He said, I think, therefore I am. Well, no, that's not true. Because what he's thinking is of an I, right? And he's thinking the I exists. But we know from study and contemplation and meditation that I is really extra. And you don't need to bring it into everything. Because all the I does is suffer. I mean, it does other things too. It feels happy, then it feels sad, then it feels, angry, then it feels depressed or whatever. All of those things are emotions of the animal. And I'm not saying don't have the emotions. What I'm saying is don't identify with them. Let them come and go like clouds in the sky. And they always will go. You can't make them last even if you wanted to. You can't. But if your mind gives you a script that says, oh, I'm suffering, I'm suffering, I'm suffering, I'm suffering, I'm hopeless, I'm suffering, I'm worthless, I'm hopeless, I'm suffering. If you just keep reciting that script, then you will create a self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And most people do, frankly, on this earth. But the good news is that they don't have to. Okay, so you have a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, so my question was, it's like, I remember Rupert Spira discussing this as well. Like when I'm smelling something, whatever that is being smelled is not separate from the smelling. Like smelling is not separate from the smell. Same goes to hearing is not separate from the heard.
What you hear is not separate from the heard.
Yes. So what I got was these verbs are just giving the illusion of control. That I control what I am smelling, what I am hearing, when in reality I am aware of these things, yet I don't have control over what I am hearing or what I am smelling.
Well, yeah, but let's look at that a different way, right? When you create the I, then you create the whole question of who's in control. When you are rid of the I, when you don't hang on, you're not attached to the ego template, mental template. Whenever you're able to let that go, and there's just hearing, or there's just smelling, or there's just leaves on the tree, or there's just a cloud, or there's just a bird in the sky, and then you realize that there's no I to be in control. And what would you want to control? What? Just by wanting to control something, you make it bigger than it is already, because it will go by itself.
But what if I want to control so that bad outcomes don't happen?
You're not going to be able to do that. Nobody could do that. All you can do is do your best. Look, you didn't control the day of your birth.
Yeah.
You didn't control who your parents were. You're not going to control the day of your death. And you're not going to control whatever sicknesses and things like that visit you. I mean, there's not much you could do. Actually, there's nothing you could do, because the you that you're referring to is a conditioned self, an illusory self.
It's really hard to accept.
However, let's go through the Four Noble Truths. The first noble truth of the Buddha is, 1, suffering exists. Right? 2, the cause of suffering is clinging or attachment to mainly ideas and concepts. Right? Attachment to these things. So that's the second noble truth. First noble truth is suffering exists. Second noble truth is the cause of suffering is attachment to whatever it may be. It could be your car, your bicycle, it could be your hair or your favorite shoes or whatever. All of that's going to cause suffering.
Yes.
Now, the third noble truth is there is an end to suffering. And that's what this is about, is ending suffering. Which is a kind of nice thing.
Yes.
And the fourth noble truth is the way, right? The path is the way.
Yeah, path to this. So essentially you are saying I am holding on to the thought of not being in pain. Like I don't want to be in pain.
No. You're okay. There's no you to be doing that, but you're conditioned to want to hold on to the idea of pain and suffering. It's tricky because the language is limited, but see, if there's no you, there's no holding on to suffering and pain, because that's not what the organism would do. It's the thoughts that are worse than the suffering itself. Have you ever had this? I mean, okay, so you have to go to the dentist, or you have to go, to get a colonoscopy, or you have to go get some medical procedure, or you have to give a talk or something like that, or to meet with someone higher than you in business. And you spend like 3 days in agony, worried about it.
Yeah.
Have you ever had that experience?
Yeah, I usually have it during my Toastmasters when I'm about to give a speech.
Okay, good. Okay, so all of that doesn't help anything, and it's totally unnecessary. So it takes your thoughts. Your thoughts have to be conditioned in such a manner that you hold on to those anxieties before an event, right?
Yes.
Now, that conditioning, what I'm trying to convey, is that the only way to get rid of that conditioning is to condition yourself in another manner, slightly, to be conditioned towards truth, to be conditioned towards freedom, towards insight, and generosity in these things. And so what happens is the complex of the idea of you, your thoughts, your feelings, your sensations, your interactions with other people, etc. That complex becomes, this is putting it crudely, but more conditioned towards peace, joy, and whatever you call not fear. And then the other conditioning just drops out. Your commanding self is what's doing all this. And maybe your superego. But, so it's basically just how you've treated your mind, how you've nourished your mind, and what have you taught your mind to believe.
Okay. I can see that, but at the heat of the moment, I almost always forget it. Not always, but I can see that.
Not always, though. It does take It takes some time, right?
Yes.
And so what reading the Avatamsaka does, or the Flower Ornament Sutra, is it retrains your mind in a different manner.
Yes. Yeah.
And it makes it much, 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 much less likely to suffer or to feel hopeless. And you can just see and think more clearly.
Yes.
So let's say there's a dog in the desert, okay?
Yeah.
The dog's just wandering around the desert.
Yes.
And then around this desert, there are, posts, fence posts.
Okay.
And at the top of these fence posts, there's a light, okay?
Okay.
And so you put the dog out there, and he just wanders around, and sees these, let's call them green lights on the top of these posts, right?
Yeah.
And the dog's feeling miserable because he knows there's no water in the desert, and he sees a mirage, and he can tell that that's an illusion, and he's thirsty, this poor dog. But one day he realizes that every one of those posts at the bottom of it, if you dig just a little bit, you get into this nice big puddle of water, clean, fresh water, right?
Yeah.
So now he's in the desert, but instead of just a dry, brutal, empty desert full of thirst, he realized he understands now that the post with the green light means that's water that's been set out for him. Now he has a totally different experience of the desert because he knows he's not going to be thirsty, and he can go hang out with the horny toads or whatever, and just hang out. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And night will come, but his experience has totally changed because he's learned something and he's been conditioned differently.
Got it.
And I know people don't, but it's the 25th century, so I know people don't like to be compared to animals, but animals are kind of cool, and their brains work the same way as ours, and they're conscious.
Yeah.
So they have a lot to teach us. But we who specialize in thought, we have difficulty sometimes when our thoughts create problems, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's
okay.
The one holding back.
So that's an analogy. Okay, good. Or a simile.
Okay. Yeah. I had a different question.
Okay, good.
This may be a bit small one, but so are thoughts, and by extension ego, aware of the silent witness or seer or God that is like aware of everything?
Are thoughts aware of that?
Yeah.
Okay, thoughts. Okay, does the eye see the eye?
Yeah, I would say, yeah.
No. Forget mirrors. Right now, can your eyes see your eyes?
No, even in mirrors, I can't see the exact eye.
Okay, so can your ears hear hear ears?
No.
No, you can't hear your ear.
No. Yeah, no.
Okay, so can the mind see itself?
That was a question I was going to ask from instant Zen, but I don't know.
Okay, good. Can thoughts see themselves?
They can refer to other thoughts. Would that be called?
Yes, they can refer to other thoughts, but they cannot reflect on themselves. That's the property of consciousness, of awareness.
The senses cannot.
Let's go to the instant Zen. The instant Zen probably does it much better than I can.
Yeah. So I think this is the first page, freedom and independence. One who
Okay,
is
freedom and independence. All right, read it slowly and carefully so people can turn on the captions or something. I should mention that at the beginning. People need to turn on the captions. Okay, go ahead.
one who is not a companion of myriad things has departed the toils of materialism. The
One
mind,
who is not a companion of the myriad things has departed the toils of materialism. Correct?
the mind does not recognize the mind. The eye does not see the eye. Since there is no opposition, when you see forms, there are no forms there to be seen. And when you hear sounds, there are no sounds there to be heard. Is this not departing the toils of materialism? There is no particular pathway into it, no gap through which to see it. Buddhism has no east or west, south or north. One does not say, "You are the disciple, I am the teacher." If your own self is clear and everything is it, then you visit a teacher, you do not see that there is a teacher. When you inquire of yourself, you do not see that you have a self. When you read scripture, you do not see that there is a scripture there. When you eat, you do not see that there is a meal there. When you sit and meditate, you do not see that there is any sitting. You do not slip up in your everyday tasks, yet you cannot lay hold of anything at all. When you see in this way, are you not independent and free? Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, rule number one, observation number one. That's Zen, all right, and it's difficult.
Yeah.
Okay, and it presumes that you've understood emptiness, and you understand that if you look at anything closely enough, or you contemplate it closely enough, what happens is it falls apart because it doesn't have an essence. It doesn't have a fixed reality. And in the state that he's describing, you don't name everything as you're going through in the early meditation. If you do Vipassana meditation or these other meditations, some of them say, well, just name everything, name your thoughts, name the objects, name your actions, and as a way to get people a little bit more conscious. But in a more advanced version of that, it's like Krishnamurti. You don't name anything, right? It's just there, and you don't have the secondary cortical, the brain elaboration that, oh, I'm sitting, oh, I'm eating, oh, I'm reading scripture. It just happens without all of those processes. Now, what he's describing, I will admit, it's a little esoteric, but he's describing the state in which the secondary elaboration doesn't occur. And what it's precisely like, and probably derived from, is Taoism. In Taoism, to be like cold ashes, or the withered tree, you don't get involved in all that naming and comparing and doing all this other stuff. It just happens, and you don't have to be part of it, and neither do you have to be naming it or whatever.
So regarding the emptiness you talk about.
Also, one last thing though.
Yeah.
And then according to the teachings of Jesus, right?
Yeah.
What you do it to the least of these, you do it to me. Treat your neighbor as yourself, right?
Yeah.
These are all mystical instructions also. Because the illusion in this life is separateness. You can't find any boundaries in this world. Not any real ones. And if you look scientifically, you won't find them either. you end up in this kind of fog of what is quantum mechanics at the moment. But there's no boundaries. But go ahead, ask about emptiness.
So about emptiness, I don't know why. Theoretically, I understand there is only information. There is no proof of any substance. And in addition to that,
but information is empty too, right?
It's like saying thought is empty too. Like it's not tangible.
It is empty, yeah.
And it exists because I'm aware of it, so I'm not going to say it doesn't exist.
Okay, good. So you have to be able to say two things at the same time. It exists,
yeah.
But it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So it's like the value of Bitcoin. It exists, but it doesn't exist. It's imaginary.
Not just value of Bitcoin.
That doesn't mean go sell your Bitcoin. That doesn't mean Bitcoin's a joke. What it means is that there are many things in this world that only exist as ideas that we share. And when you start to see that everything is like that, then you begin to start walking around in the emptiness of our universe.
So, I still don't.
And the extraordinary relativity of the basics like space and time.
Yeah.
Now, for learning this, there's nothing better than the Flower Ornament Scripture.
Yes.
So in a way, if the Foyan is a way of assessing how much you've grokked the Flower Ornament Scripture, because that is basically a brain reconditioning tool. I'm putting it very crudely. It's much more sophisticated than that. It's a tool, an instrument by which to grow and expand the brain.
Yeah.
And everything associated with it, creativity, everything. Intelligence, perspective, so on and so forth.
So I have few questions there, but
good. Ask questions.
Yeah, but before that, I want to talk a bit about a story in the Instant Zen book itself. It's again related to emptiness. So,
all right.
It's on page.
What's the title of it?
So it's a part of the one chapter, Seeing Through.
Okay, I don't have the book with me. How long is it?
The whole chapter is like 2.5 pages long, but this is just one paragraph.
Okay, so read the paragraph slowly and carefully so people can get it.
Yes.
Every word.
Yes. So here it goes.
Okay.
In olden times, a certain old adept asked a seeker, "Where have you just come from?" The seeker replied, "The city." The adept said, "Where are you now?" The seeker said, "The mountains." The adept said, "I have a question to ask you. If you can answer, you may stay. If not, then leave." Now then, when you left the city was lacking you. When you came to the mountains had you extra. If you are absent in the city, the reality of mind is not universally omnipresent. If you are an extra in the mountains, then there is something outside of mind. The seeker had nothing to say.
Okay.
So, I get what he's trying to say, at least theoretically, I would say.
Do you? Explain it.
Yeah, from my
what you understand symbols.
So there is nothing called city or mountains as such. Like the seeker is aware of it, that he was at city and moved here and all. but there is no physicality to it as such. So there is no one who moved from city to mountains. It's just that things changed in the seeker's awareness.
Good, good, excellent.
So
I was going to say that you hadn't gotten it, but I think you did. So let's say you're in your office now, let's say.
Yeah.
And then you walked out to the park.
Yeah. I walked out to the park.
It's all conscious. It's all experience. It's all awareness. It's all consciousness, and it's one, right?
That's the thing.
So your consciousness now includes my voice, the floor of your office, the window, the walls, the artwork, right?
Yes.
Now, if you move to the park, then your consciousness now has trees and flowers and little maybe squirrel or something like that. But the consciousness doesn't move. The experience changes, that's all.
I guess different modulations of visual, hearing, visual sound, smell, feeling.
Something like that. But what you are really can't move. It's extratemporal. It's outside of space. It's outside of time. And so let me see if I can draw another analogy. Let's say you're in a movie theater, the old kind, right, where there's a projector and they show the movie.
Yeah.
The screen is there. Okay?
Yeah.
Now they show a movie and the screen is still there. But on the movie they show all kinds of crazy stuff, shootouts and horse races and drag races and all kinds of romantic things on the movie.
Yeah.
The screen is still there, it's still the same screen. Now they turn the movie off and the screen is still the screen. It's not extra, it's not missing. It's not missing when they show the movie, and it's not extra when they turn it off. Do you see?
Yeah, I think it reminds me of the time when I start thinking about death, but it's like the screen is just displaying those thoughts about death, and these series of thoughts or sequence of thoughts can try as much as they want, but they can never interact with the screen at all.
Correct. Good. And that's why you can't die. You won't die. And this is what Christ talks about with everlasting life. Or in Genesis, they talk about, if man eats from the tree of life, he'll become like one of us and live forever. Or this is what the Taoists mean by the immortality. This is what so every tradition understands this, but they don't really spell it out very well for the congregation because most people can't grok it. But the reality is that what you are, is what I am, which is what everything is. And what the movie on the screen may be Earth, it may be this universe with its beautiful, trees and flowers and music and all this gorgeous stuff. But that's just the movie on the screen. The screen will be there forever.
I don't know.
You get the analogy? You get the metaphor?
I get the metaphor, but you can't still say screen will be there forever.
Well, it'll be there for, okay, if the screen is a metaphor for your consciousness, which is my consciousness, there's only one consciousness. It will be there forever, it's because it's outside of time.
I still can't grok that part.
No, you can't. But when you can, you will be hanging out with bodhisattvas, right? You'll be up there.
Yeah. Actually,
and that's what you're working towards. You're working towards freedom from fear and freedom from suffering. And that's not easy, but it's worth it. It's the most valuable thing you can do. It's the most valuable thing I did in my life, right? And I had a great life. And it's the most valuable thing that you can do in your life.
Yeah, I was contemplating on fear as well, but yeah. So,
well, there's no fear when you know what you are. Nothing on this earth can scratch awareness itself. Nothing bad can ever happen to it. It's not physical. It's not temporal. It's not spatial. And even if it were, you could blow off, 1,000 nuclear bombs. It's not going to scratch awareness. It can't touch it. It's a different thing altogether. In a way.
Yeah, but I still can't. I don't know what's missing, or again missing.
Well, you gotta spend some time with the sutra, and spend some time with the Zen, and gradually over a period of time, it'll all fit together, and then you'll see it, and you'll laugh your head off, because it's the most obvious thing in the world too.
For me, obviously.
Do you have any more Fourier questions? Go ahead.
No, not right now. But obvious thing for me right now is whatever I'm aware of right now. There's nothing more obvious, I guess.
No, there's nothing more obvious.
But yeah.
But the mind can't see the mind, the eye can't see the eye, and your true self can't yet see your true self.
So I had the same question. Mind can't see the eye, then why do people
the eye suffering? Can't see the eye. The EYE can't see the EYE.
Oh.
Right.
Okay.
The mind creates the eye. The little mind creates the eye.
But can little mind see the big mind?
No.
That's the thing.
Big mind can see little mind, but it doesn't go the other way.
That's the thing. Like, then if small mind can't see the big mind, then how does suffering go away? Because there are... Okay, I'm going
you
to...
get the little mind out of the way and you just hang out with big mind.
But am I not hanging out with big mind even right now?
You are, but you're identified with something else that's blocking it.
So things
you
are
from living there. Your commanding self is getting in the way. Your egoic self, the idea of self, is getting in the way. So it's like you're trying to look at the moon on the horizon or the sun on the horizon. Mm-hmm. That's what you want to see, but you've got a thumb right in front of your eyeballs. It blocks it. So that when you remove your thumbs from in front of your eyeballs, right in front of your eyeballs, then you can see the sun easily.
Yeah. I'm going to say how it can happen, but I don't think, because this is only grace kind of thing.
Well, it's tricky, and one of the, both in Christianity and in Buddhism and in Taoism, they all talk about become like a child, or you need beginner's mind, or you need to, be free of opinions or whatever. Every one of these traditions has different ways to signal that you need to go back to a more simple mind. And children don't have eyes. They capital I, right? They don't have cells until a certain age. They're just undifferentiated. But for some reason, it seems like the reason we're here on this earth, in this universe, on this planet, is so that we can discover that. It seems like that's I don't know of any other game in town, frankly.
That was just something weird I noticed. like in English, whenever you talk about I is always capitalized the way the G in God is capitalized.
Right. Oh, that's interesting. It's true. Yeah. Neither one of them really needs a capital.
Yeah.
Let me ask a question for you, just for fun, okay?
Yeah.
If I was to tell you all there is in this universe is information and energy, what would you say?
I would agree. Because
Okay.
everything is information. There is no proof of something substantial there.
Okay, so when we look at something, we're just processing information. When we hear something, we're processing information. Okay, good. That's easy.
Yes.
And so, like some people believe that information is a fundamental, right?
Yeah.
Now, my question is this. Is energy information?
First of all, what is energy?
Okay, good. Okay, so I mean that's like me asking you what temperature is, but let's say we have a source of heat.
Okay.
Okay. And above this source of heat, the heat's in these copper wires.
Okay.
Copper tubes. It's pressurized hot water that's heating it up, or electricity. And then above that we have a little flask, and in it there's some cold water. And then when we put the heat source or the energy source underneath it, it transfers the energy or the heat or whatever you want to call the temperature to the water and increases the entropy of the water.
Yes. I mean, it does, yeah.
So I think if you look directly at what energy is, it's very, very hard to get your finger on.
So you could say energy is the change in modulation of my senses.
Yeah, or yes.
So the way all these things are conceptual. So the way I see the world is, you have a screen, and you have screen to be my true self, right? And on the screen you have a screensaver kind of thing, right? Where something moves, keeps moving here and there. The same thing is happening in front of me as well, like things that I'm aware of. Things keep moving. There is no proof of hardness of things. It's just their inference.
Correct.
The hardness essentially says that if I touch something, then I feel
Stipulated. Okay. Do you know what stipulated means?
No.
It means I agree with your point, and we can move on. It's a legal term.
Yeah. Okay.
I stipulate to the guilt of my client, right?
Yeah.
All right. Now, but the real question is, could we say that energy is information?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Or how about this potential information? Think about it. Think about it. Now, you know that in order to erase information, that takes energy.
In order to erase information,
to erase information takes energy.
But the second law of thermodynamics does say that always happens by default.
What happens?
The entropy of the universe keep increasing.
Correct, but not in all systems at all times. I mean, we're talking about a closed system here.
In closed systems, sure, but we need to take into consideration this whole universe, right? And whatever.
Well, we'll do that next. We'll do that next. Okay, just something fun to think about. The relationship between energy and information.
Got it.
Somebody's going to figure it out. And remember black holes, right? All that energy that's being sucked in. And some people believe that the information is just smeared on the outside or something.
Yeah, I have a weird theory, but yeah.
And then there's a conservation of information in some weird way. Okay. Anyway, that's separate. That was just something I thought you might. Because in your lifetime, I bet somebody's going to figure it out.
Yeah. With everything, AIs and all, yeah, that will definitely help.
Well, I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Yeah, with AIs and everything else, that will definitely speed up this process.
Well, then maybe you can answer the question with some AIs or something, right?
Yeah. Let's see.
Don't underestimate yourself. That would be a horrible waste of a good mind.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions before we stop?
I was just looking at it.
I like that Foyan. That Foyan's good stuff.
Yeah.
Instant Zen.
Yes. Yeah, even I read it first, and reading it again gives me some different perspective.
Oh, yeah. Same with me.
Sorry?
Same with me. That's a great thing about great literature, is that it takes a lot to exhaust it.
When I first read this story about the old adept, the story talked by old adept, I couldn't understand this at all. Now I'm able to get things, grok things at least.
He's challenging, but it's accessible if you take yourself seriously. Yeah. You got another one there we could do real quick?
Okay, so this one's a small one. In one of your previous videos, you said that senses do not know each other, which I agree. Like, vision doesn't know about what is being heard. Yeah, hearing.
Yeah.
However, if we consider thoughts to be senses as well, then that may not be correct, right? Because thoughts can access all these senses.
Okay, I don't consider thoughts to be senses. They have apparently a different mechanism. If you look at how they arise differently. Senses and sensations arise differently than thoughts do, but what we do immediately when we have a sense or a sensation or a feeling or a perception, the first thing our brain does is it starts to think about it. But that's not the actual sensation. And so in the tweet that I put out there, which I really recommend to you, I say that the mind is an elaboration. The thought mind is an elaboration of awareness.
Okay.
But senses are not.
Yeah.
Because a thermostat can sense the temperature. Right?
There's stipulations.
And a machine can think.
Sorry, I didn't get you. Can a machine think?
Okay, a thermostat can sense the temperature.
Yes.
An optical receptor on an oscilloscope can sense light.
Yes.
So it's very different than thought.
But from my perspective, I'm just aware of all these things. And frankly, I can't differentiate. Like, I don't know how to talk about this.
Okay. Well, you have to contemplate it, right? You have to contemplate. Yeah. Okay. There's the sensation of a finger pressing on my leg.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
The thought didn't come first. The sensation, and also knowing some neurobiology helps. The thought didn't come first. The thought came afterwards. And you can have people that are unconscious, right, with no thought, right, because they're corked out with anesthesia, or they're in a coma, and you can press on their sternum, or press on the bottom of their feet, and their body will respond to the sensation without any thought elaboration. That's why I say they're different.
Okay. But how is thought able to, this is still a mechanism in brain who takes signals.
Yeah, the brain gets the signal later.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say you put your finger on a hot stove. You don't think, oh, my finger's on a hot stove. Oh, I smell smoke. No, you jerk your finger off before you have a chance to think about it.
Yeah.
But then you start thinking about it. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I would put them in different categories, and then also, if you meditate on where thoughts come from and where sensations come from, I think you'll come up with two different answers.
So
not exactly, not entirely. The reason is when you go deeply enough that it all becomes the same.
That's the thing.
Right?
It depends. If you believe in the materialistic world, then yes. But if you believe in the information being primary, then I don't know.
Excellent point. Excellent point. So now, what Dharma is for you is to just contemplate these things. Think about them. You know, the answers to these are not at all settled. That's why I asked you. I didn't tell you.
Got it.
And when I tweeted that out, I wasn't declaring anything. It was there for people to argue with or improve or whatever they wanted to do. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
But God gave us brains like we have.
Yeah.
For this reason.
Got it.
And so if you could start to take yourself seriously and realize that there's these questions that humankind is facing, right? Especially with the AIs bearing down on us, that you have a role to play too, but you got to use your mind.
Yes.
And you do, and I really appreciate it. I mean, I can tell.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're making progress. All right, sir?
Yes. Okay.
Adios.
Yes.
Que te vaya bien, okay?
Yep. Bye. Take
Take
care.
good care.